No one truly believed a wild boar herd that large could exist until the cameras captured the entire scene. After last week's feral hog control operation around my farm, things had finally started to settle down again. The fields were no longer being torn apart every night. The fences were no longer being smashed down, and I began to think I might finally get a little rest. But then an unexpected phone call dragged everything right back to the beginning. At my uncle's farm, hundreds of kilometers away, another herd of feral hogs had started appearing in growing numbers, and the destruction was even worse than before. Huge tracks stretched across the fields. The ground had been ripped open into massive patches, and the crops were nearly wiped out after only a few nights. What worried us most was that these feral hogs no longer seemed afraid of people. They were showing up even before dark, moving in large groups as if they had become completely familiar with the land surrounding the farm. We decided to deploy the traps that very same day. The first trap was set along the edge of a pine forest, where the heaviest signs of movement had been found. This time, I chose to use a net trap instead of a steel cage. With large herds constantly on the move, the net trap felt more natural and far less suspicious than a fully enclosed steel frame. After scattering bait around the area, the entire team quickly pulled back to a distant observation point. We barely had to wait long. As the evening light began to fade, the first dark shapes emerged between the trees. One by one, the wild boar stepped out cautiously, sniffing the air nonstop before slowly moving toward the bait. At first, only a few smaller hogs entered the trap zone, but before long the entire herd came flooding in. They shoved against each other searching for food, completely unaware that the netting was already surrounding them. Only when an entire herd suddenly turned around did the real panic erupt. Piercing squeals exploded through the forest as they slammed violently into the netting in search and escape, but every exit had already been sealed shut. The next location was an open field far from the edge of the forest. With no trees for cover, the herd became far more cautious. They kept appearing in the distance before disappearing back into the darkness. We were forced to leave the trap active overnight. The next morning, when we returned to check it, several wild boars had already been caught inside.
In audio.
The moment they noticed people approaching, the entire herd instantly went berserk, crashing into one another in desperation.
In audio.
But the thick netting was soft enough to absorb the impact, while still strong enough to hold them completely in place.
In audio.
In the western woods near the farm, we tried a different type of trap.
In audio.
This one was a massive steel cage with a front entrance covered by such simple netting that it barely drew any attention at all.
In audio.
Ironically, that simplicity was exactly what lowered the herd's guard. Drawn in by the smell of food inside, they followed one another into the cage without realizing the entrance only worked one way. It was only when they tried to turn and flee that they discovered the way and had already become the perfect trap. By noon, we checked the final trap in the southern section of the forest and were shocked to discover that most of the animals trapped inside were piglets.
In audio.
They crowded together, constantly running in circles within the cramped space, creating a chaotic scene unlike anything we had seen before. This was no longer just about catching a few animals destroying crops. It was proof that the entire herd was reproducing at a terrifying rate. Once the operation was over, the hardest part finally began, moving each animal from the traps onto the trucks. The tight spaces made them more aggressive than ever. The sounds of violent impacts, pounding footsteps, and relentless charges pushed the situation to an extreme level of tension. When a final truck finally pulled away, the area surrounding the farm slowly returned to silence. Standing in the middle of the freshly cleared field, I realized that while the adult hogs could be controlled, the appearance of the young ones was a true sign that this cycle was only just beginning.
In many agricultural areas located near forests, wild boar herds have begun appearing with increasing frequency. They repeatedly move across open land and along the edges of fields. Each herd usually consists of 3 to nearly 10 boars following one another in the same direction before moving deeper into production areas. Residents witness the herds crossing fields before quickly scattering into different locations. Some herds return to the exact same familiar areas for many consecutive days, showing that they have established stable feeding routes and begun expanding their range into nearby regions. Not long afterward, the extent of the damage became clearly visible across large areas. Large sections of land in the middle of fields were dug up, leaving behind long trenches and disturbed soil. Numerous crop rows were trampled, and many areas became almost impossible to restore immediately afterward. What made the situation more serious was that the boars repeatedly returned to the same locations over many consecutive days. In areas near residential zones, lawns and gardens were also heavily torn up after each time the herds passed through. Production areas continued to suffer repeated destruction, while the range of damage gradually expanded into many surrounding locations. After identifying the areas most frequently used by the herds, trap systems began being deployed directly along the main movement routes. Some circular traps were installed in open areas to contain multiple animals at the same time. In addition, rectangular traps were placed along narrow pathways between open ground and crop fields. Steel frames were firmly secured to the ground to withstand strong impacts when the herds panicked. Trap doors were positioned in the direction of the boars' familiar movement routes to make entry appear more natural. After the main structures were completed, bait was placed deep inside to draw the herds fully into the controlled area. While the trap systems remained in position, survey activities continued constantly to monitor the movement patterns of the herds. Helicopters appeared above the heavily affected areas to observe from the air. From this viewpoint, the herd's movement routes gradually became visible between open land and crop areas that had been damaged many times before. The monitoring teams continued checking footprints, feeding grounds, and the paths most frequently used by the herds. Cameras and night observation equipment were positioned along different directions to accurately record the moments when the herds appeared and moved around the trap areas. During the following nights, the entire area surrounding the traps was continuously monitored using cameras and night observation devices. The first boars approached quite slowly, often stopping several times to observe before moving closer to the baited area. They circled around the edges of the traps for a short time before finally stepping inside. Once no danger was detected, the boars behind quickly followed in small groups. The number of animals inside the traps gradually increased after each wave of movement. Before long, many of them began pushing against one another while competing for food in the central area, causing their level of caution to decrease significantly over time. As soon as the right moment appeared, the entire trap system was activated immediately. The steel doors slammed shut extremely quickly and blocked every exit before the herd could react. Only seconds later, the entire area became chaotic as the trapped boars rushed in different directions trying to escape. Some slammed hard into the steel frames, but still could not break through the structures that had been firmly secured beforehand. In many situations, additional traps around the area were also activated one after another to prevent the herd from scattering in other directions. Choosing the correct moment allowed most of the herd to be contained in a single deployment. After the control operation was completed, the boars were kept stable inside the system before being transported away from the area. As the herd numbers decreased, the destructive pressure on agricultural areas gradually declined as well.
Let's go back to 1992, when black bears across the United States were on the brink of extinction. At the time, their numbers had dropped so dramatically that many biologists feared there would come a day when black bears would exist only in old photographs and fading memories. But the surviving bears endured and became part of one of the most remarkable wildlife recovery stories in modern history. Thanks to their incredible adaptability and resilience, black bears made a powerful comeback stronger than anyone expected. Today, the black bear population has rebounded to nearly 700,000 animals, with most living freely across the vast forests of North America. But this conservation success story has also created new challenges. As bear populations continue to grow, they are bringing increasing problems to farmers and communities living near forested areas. To deal with these issues, wildlife experts and hunting communities have worked together to find ways to balance conservation with population control. One of the oldest methods is bow hunting, a tradition deeply rooted in Native American culture. For many early tribes, hunting was never considered entertainment. It was an essential part of survival and a skill built on patience, discipline, and precision. Hunters often spend days or even weeks scouting, tracking, and preparing before ever taking a shot. Understanding bear behavior and movement patterns is the key to getting close without being detected. Black bears have an extraordinary sense of smell and can detect human scent from miles away. Because of this, hunters must remain extremely careful. Every movement has to be controlled, and every step must serve a purpose. They learn how to blend into the forest, moving silently like shadows to become nearly invisible to one of North America's most intelligent predators. When a bear finally appears, usually within only 20 to 40 yards, every sense becomes completely focused. One small mistake can ruin weeks of preparation in an instant. Meanwhile, in many mountainous and forested regions across North America, bear cage traps have become one of the most widely used methods of population control. Unlike the dangerous traps used decades ago, modern systems are designed to keep the animal secure while wildlife officers or trained specialists arrive on site. Massive steel traps are often placed deep in the woods near known bear travel areas or areas filled with claw marks, overturned rocks, and feeding signs. Inside the trap, strong-smelling bait such as fish, meat, or sweet pastries is used to attract bears from long distances away. When the massive steel door suddenly slams shut, the entire forest can erupt with deep roaring echoes. But the goal is not simply to capture a single bear. The larger objective is to prevent bears from moving into residential areas, destroying crops, or becoming a danger to nearby communities. Whether using traditional bows or modern cage trapping systems, the most important things remain calmness, responsibility, and respect for nature. Every decision affects the fragile balance between humans and wildlife. And as black bear populations continue to recover across North America, the debate over how humans should coexist with these powerful predators will likely continue for many years to come. So what do you think? Do hunting and population control still play an important role in modern wildlife management? Or should we move toward newer and more humane solutions? If you enjoy real stories about nature, survival, and the challenges people face in the wild, make sure to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective because every opinion and every story helps us better understand the fragile yet powerful connection between humans and the wild world around us.
Between the snow-covered mountains of Montana, more and more grizzly bears weighing hundreds of kilograms are leaving the forests and moving dangerously close to ranches and residential areas. They tear apart food storage sheds, flip over garbage bins, and leave massive footprints right outside people's homes. Even more concerning, the bears are learning exactly where food is easiest to find and becoming harder to control after every encounter with humans. Montana has long been an ideal habitat for both black bears and grizzlies. Vast wilderness regions like Glacier National Park and Bob Marshall Wilderness have allowed bear populations to thrive for decades. With their incredible adaptability, bears can find food almost anywhere, from berries and fish to livestock feed near residential areas. That has made the boundary between the wild and human life increasingly fragile. In areas where bears repeatedly return, wildlife control teams can't simply respond to incidents one by one. Every strategy has to be planned around the animal's travel routes and level of caution. One of the most common methods is using large steel cage traps placed in locations where bears have been spotted multiple times. The goal is not only to control the animal, but also to minimize the risk to both people and the bear itself. The most important factor is not the size of the trap, but the precision of the location. Before setting a trap, control teams often spend days monitoring the bear's movement patterns, from the trails it regularly uses to the way it approaches food sources. Even a small mistake can ruin the entire operation, because bears are extremely sensitive to unusual changes in their environment. Tracks in soft soil, tree trunks covered in claw marks, and overturned trash bins all become critical clues when determining where to place a trap. Trails repeatedly used over multiple nights are usually monitored the most closely. Only when the signs are clear enough is bait placed deep inside the control zone, forcing the bear to fully enter the trap instead of approaching cautiously and walking away. However, not every bear reacts the same way. Bears that have previously encountered humans or escaped earlier control operations often become extremely cautious. They can detect even the slightest changes around familiar areas and immediately avoid them. In those cases, large cage traps are no longer effective, and control teams are forced to use more discreet methods to avoid triggering suspicion. One commonly used method is a cable snare trap placed along the bear's regular travel routes. The system is carefully concealed with dirt and dry leaves, so it nearly disappears into the environment. When the bear steps into the exact position, the cable loop tightens instantly and anchors to a fixed point to limit movement. The effectiveness of this method depends heavily on field experience and the control team's ability to camouflage the setup. In the harsh conditions of Montana, bear control has never relied on luck.
Shove or not to shove? That is the question after.
From tracking signs and identifying movement corridors to choosing the right moment for deployment, every step requires patience and days of careful observation. Move too early or leave behind too much human scent, and the bear may completely change its route, making the operation far more difficult. Bear hunting also demands an extremely high level of preparation. In Montana, the use of bait is completely prohibited for ethical and ecological reasons. That forces hunters to rely on terrain, tracking skills, and a deep understanding of bear behavior instead of depending solely on equipment. Across the vast forests of Montana, the confrontation between humans and wild bears continues under constant pressure. It is not just a story about controlling dangerous animals, but also a long-standing challenge of balancing human life with the wilderness. If you found this story interesting, leave a comment and don't forget to follow for more journeys into the harsh wild landscapes of North America. Amid the remote mountains covered with pine and birch forests in northern Canada, autumn was slowly giving way to the first bitter days of winter. During the day, the forest still held its quiet beauty, with dry leaves rustling beneath the hooves of deer and thin layers of mist drifting between the towering trees. But once night fell, the residents of the small logging camp near the edge of the woods began hearing strange sounds. Metal containers being dragged across the ground, heavy scratching against the food storage shed, and at times the massive shadow of a large creature moving beneath the faint yellow lights. The bear did not appear overly aggressive, but it was becoming increasingly bold. At first, there were only large footprints pressed into the damp soil. Then came overturned trash bins and broken wooden fences. The people living near the forest understood that if the situation was not handled quickly, the animal would gradually grow accustomed to human food sources and become even more dangerous in the future. Local authorities soon contacted the wildlife management team to organize a safe capture operation. Unlike the harsh methods commonly used many years ago, the control team chose a more cautious and humane approach this time. Their goal was to capture one specific adult bear that had repeatedly returned to the residential area, rather than disturb the entire wildlife habitat. Infrared cameras were attached to tree trunks, motion sensors were placed along the trails the bear frequently used, and all data was monitored continuously throughout several nights. As they reviewed the footage, the team realized the bear was extremely intelligent. It usually appeared close to midnight, avoided brightly lit areas, and always paused for a long time to observe its surroundings before approaching any food source. On one occasion, it detected the metallic scent from an old trap and immediately turned away. That discovery forced the team to change their strategy, minimizing all traces of human presence and placing the trap in a more natural-looking location. A large cage trap was set up near a small stream deep in the forest, where many fresh footprints had recently been found. Inside, the team placed honey, berries, and dried salmon, scents that were highly attractive yet still natural to the environment. Before leaving, the staff covered the trap frame with pine branches and forest soil to conceal any remaining metallic smell. That night, cold winds swept through the treetops, filling the forest with endless rustling sounds. From the monitoring screens inside their specialized vehicle, the control team watched the massive figure of the bear slowly emerge beneath the dim moonlight. It moved carefully, occasionally standing on its hind legs to sniff the air before lowering its head back toward the ground. The animal's caution left the entire team watching almost breathlessly. The bear circled the trap several times before finally approaching the entrance. It hesitated for a few seconds, its eyes constantly scanning the dark forest around it, before eventually being drawn in by the scent of food. The moment its entire body entered the cage, the sensor instantly activated the closing mechanism. The steel door dropped firmly yet smoothly, avoiding any loud noise that might send the animal into panic. Immediately afterward, the control team moved in quickly. Maintaining a safe distance, they used soft lighting to avoid agitating the bear while performing an initial health check. The animal appeared tense for the first few minutes before gradually calming down. After being lightly sedated, it was transported to a protected reserve dozens of kilometers away from the residential area, where natural food sources were abundant and the risk of human contact was much lower. The following morning, the logging camp was quiet once again. The large footprints around the fences had disappeared, and no strange sounds echoed through the night anymore. Beneath the pale morning sunlight filtering through the mist-covered forest, everything seemed to return to its proper place. The bear continued its life in the wild, while the people learned once again that protecting communities and respecting nature can exist side by side when guided by responsibility and understanding.
Big.
Across America's vast farmlands, wild boars have become a nightmare for thousands of farmers. With massive muscle, razor-sharp tusks, and an almost uncontrollable breeding rate, they cause more than $2.5 billion in damage every year. From Texas to the southern states, enormous herds tear through cornfields, destroy irrigation systems, and smash fences apart in just a few nights. Even worse, they are becoming smarter and adapting faster to nearly every control method humans throw at them. First, many people believe hunting rifles would solve the problem. But it didn't take long for the boars to change their behavior. They began moving later at night and almost vanished whenever they heard unfamiliar sounds. After hunting efforts failed, many control teams turned to leg traps hidden deep in the woods. Some animals were captured successfully, but the method quickly revealed its biggest weakness. It only caught individual boars while the rest of the herd kept breeding and destroying farmland. That forced control teams to move towards systems large enough to contain entire sounders at once.
Whoa! Yeah, big. Big. Yeah. No big.
These giant circular traps are reinforced like steel vaults. Because once the gate slams shut, hundreds of kilograms of muscle come crashing into the metal frame in total panic. A fully grown boar can easily bend steel tubing or break weak welds if the structure isn't strong enough.
Ooh, they're moving my pin around. We want to put the rest of the screws.
That's why every bolt, hinge, and connection point has to be heavily reinforced. For control teams, keeping the entire herd inside matters far more than capturing only a few isolated animals. But success depends on far more than the trap itself. Location is everything. Wild boars usually follow fixed travel routes between dense forest cover and open farmland. Control teams track footprints, mud wallows, and torn up ground to locate what they call the herd's invisible highways. Choose the wrong spot, and the boars may disappear from the area for weeks. In many cases,
understanding movement patterns becomes even more important than the weapons themselves. Once the location is confirmed, the baiting phase begins. Dry corn is mixed with old beer, spoiled milk, and fermented fruit to create a powerful scent capable of traveling for miles through humid air. The bait is scattered in trails leading deeper and deeper into the trap, so the herd slowly becomes comfortable with the strange metal
The strawberry
structure
jam left to rot for 5
sitting
days.
in the
The
middle
stench
of
carries
the
2
field.
miles.
For days, sometimes weeks, the gate remains completely open. No lights, no sudden noise, just absolute patience to convince the herd the area is safe. Then the final moment arrives. As most of the herd moves inside, cameras and motion sensors immediately alert the control team. Within seconds, the heavy steel gate slams shut. After a brief moment of silence comes the chaos, screaming, flying mud, and violent impacts shaking the entire steel frame. Response teams have to move quickly before the herd breaks free or destroys parts of the trap itself.
Alright guys, we
the processing site. Every animal is checked for disease before the meat enters production. Unlike mass-produced industrial pork, wild boar meat is often handled more carefully to preserve its natural quality. The dark red meat, lean texture, and distinctive flavor have made it increasingly popular in high-end restaurants. For some chefs, it represents a raw, untamed taste that commercial pork simply cannot replicate. But that's where the paradox begins. The more people crave wild boar meat, the more economically valuable these animals become. What was once considered an ecological disaster is slowly turning into a profitable food industry. And in the middle of this ongoing battle, one question still remains. Are humans truly protecting the ecosystem or simply turning another part of nature into business? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more survival battles between humans and the wild.
get on that trailer. Get on the bus. Yep. Yep.
If wild boars stormed into your farm every night and destroyed your crops, what would you do to stop them? For me, that was no longer a simple question. Just 2 days earlier, the largest wild boar eradication operation in the area had delivered results far beyond expectations. Hundreds of wild boars were captured within a short period of time. Massive cage traps kept slamming shut throughout the night, while the violent clanging of metal echoed across the forest. But the most dangerous ones still had not appeared. They were the old dominant boars, incredibly intelligent and always able to avoid ordinary traps. I understood clearly that if they were allowed to survive, the entire herd would quickly return. Fresh tracks continued to appear around the devastated fields, fences kept getting smashed apart, and infrared cameras constantly captured enormous dark figures moving through the night. They no longer rushed recklessly toward food the way they once had. After being hunted repeatedly, the herd had completely changed its movement patterns. They split into smaller groups, circled around dangerous areas, and only appeared at the most unpredictable times. That was why I decided to change the entire plan. Instead of placing only a few isolated traps, this time the entire forest would be surrounded with multiple trap locations. The first trap was set right along the forest edge, where a narrow trail filled with fresh tracks was still deeply pressed into the damp ground. I knew the dominant boar usually passed through this area after dark. That night, the silence felt suffocating. Only the sound of insects echoed through the thick darkness. Then finally, the massive shadow appeared. The dominant boar slowly stepped out from the bushes, moving with extreme caution. Several times it moved forward, then suddenly backed away, making me think it had detected the trap. But in one brief moment when its guard dropped slightly, it stepped a few paces deeper inside. Instantly, the steel door slammed shut with a deafening crash that echoed across the forest. The boar reacted violently almost immediately. It rammed into the metal bars with tremendous force, causing the entire cage to shake violently. The impact echoed through the darkness, making it feel as though the trap could burst apart at any second. But this time, everything had been reinforced far more heavily than before. At another location on the opposite side of the forest, the second trap quickly proved effective as well. Two wild boars appeared at the same time, moving cautiously around the baited area. They constantly sniffed the air and circled the trap several times before finally deciding to step inside. Then only seconds later, the door slammed shut decisively. Both animals immediately panicked, repeatedly smashing into the steel frame from every direction in a desperate attempt to escape. But every exit had already been sealed completely shut. The next morning, I returned to inspect the entire trap system. Even from far away, chaotic noises could already be heard coming from deep within the forest. As I moved closer, the trapped boars reacted aggressively at once. They kept charging into the metal bars, kicking clouds of dirt into the air. I kept a safe distance while quickly checking each trap one by one before handling the situation. But the trap that truly shocked me was the one near the eastern swamp. Inside was not just a few boars, but an entire herd crammed tightly together in the confined space. Massive black bodies slammed into one another and crashed violently against the metal frame, creating a scene unlike anything I had ever witnessed before. The growling, the rattling steel, and the mud being thrown everywhere made the entire scene feel more tense than ever. Only after checking every trap location did I finally let out a deep breath of relief. At the very least, the most dangerous boars had finally been brought under control. The area around the farm gradually became quiet again. And for the first time after many sleepless nights, I felt that this battle was finally under control, at least for now.
Bears rarely appear with loud sounds in the darkness of night. They usually approach human living areas quietly, almost without leaving clear signs at first. The first clues are often large footprints pressed deep into the damp soil behind houses, slightly shifted trash can lids, or long scratch marks on wooden food storage doors. These signs appear sporadically, enough to notice, but not enough to trigger immediate caution. Owners often dismiss them, assuming it was just a passing visit. This complacency allows the danger to develop silently. Over time, the level of danger becomes more evident. Bears no longer appear only at the edges of the area, but move deeper into human living spaces. They approach livestock pens, food storage areas, and the backyards of houses. The frequency of appearances increases each night, instead of remaining occasional. Under sensor lights, they still move slowly, but no longer keep a safe distance. Familiarity with the environment makes their behavior more bold. The risk of direct encounters becomes increasingly clear, placing continuous pressure on residential areas. the appearances are no longer random. Bears begin to memorize exact locations, food is available, and follow fixed routes. Each return occurs at nearly the same time, forming a stable cycle. Deterrent measures gradually lose effectiveness and are no longer sufficient to prevent them from coming back. The atmosphere becomes increasingly tense as signs of activity grow denser each night. It becomes clear that this is not a temporary phenomenon, but a repeated pattern forming a long-term threat. But a decrease in natural food sources in the forest forces bears to expand their search range. At the same time, residential areas provide more easily accessible food, such as waste, crops, and livestock feed. Their highly sensitive sense of smell allows them to detect odors from long distances and identify resource-rich locations. Once successful in finding food, their return behavior becomes reinforced and more frequent. This is a survival response to environmental change, gradually shifting bears from random searching to fixed feeding habits in specific areas. Observation is conducted over many consecutive days to accurately determine bear behavior. Footprints, claw marks, and night vision cameras are used to track their familiar movement routes. Areas with high appearance frequency are mapped and evaluated in detail. Based on this data, trap locations are selected with precision rather than randomly. Cages are firmly anchored to the ground to avoid detection. Bait is placed deep inside to lure and attract bears, ensuring they fully enter the controlled zone as planned. The bear returns along its familiar route in the darkness of night. Drawn strongly by the smell of food, it enters the trap area without the caution it once had. Each step takes it deeper inside, and the distance to the exit gradually disappears completely. Once it reaches the central position, it becomes contained within the trap and can no longer retreat. Its reactions become chaotic, but cannot break the prepared structure. In a brief moment, the entire area is confirmed safe after the bear is successfully captured. After the situation is brought under control, the area gradually stabilizes again. However, the risk may return if food sources are not completely removed. Control depends not only on traps, but also on environmental management. When living conditions change, behavior changes accordingly. Maintaining a safe distance between humans and wildlife is essential to reduce long-term risks and preserve ecological balance.
no longer appearing only secretly at night. Many groups of wild boars have now started showing up openly during the daytime across large agricultural areas. Residents constantly see groups of 3 to 10 animals crossing fields before moving deeper into areas with dense crops. They move in clear lines, almost as if they are completely familiar with the area. At times, entire groups appear very close to where farmers are working before quickly scattering toward another location. As the number of boars continues to grow, their range of activity also expands rapidly across surrounding areas. It did not take long for the consequences to become clearly visible on a large scale. Many sections of land were torn up as if they had been plowed by heavy machinery. Rows of crops were flattened across multiple areas. What worried many people even more was that the boars did not appear randomly, but continuously returned to the same locations. Some fences were bent or knocked out of place after the groups charged through them. Residents tried using lights, loud noises, and many other methods to drive them away, but the results did not last long. As soon as the area became quiet again, the boars returned as if they had never been stopped before. As the level of destruction increased rapidly, large-scale monitoring of the groups began. Helicopters appeared above the most heavily affected areas to conduct aerial surveys. From above, the movement routes of the boars became clearly visible between open ground and areas of crops that had already been damaged multiple times. Some groups became fully exposed while crossing large open spaces before moving deeper into areas with food sources. Along several major movement routes, hunters carrying bows and arrows began setting up ambushes to force the groups to move toward pre-planned areas. After many days of continuous tracking, the movement patterns of the boars were finally identified clearly. They almost always returned to the same travel corridors instead of changing locations randomly. Based on that pattern, trap systems were set up directly along the routes most frequently used by the animals. Large steel frames were firmly anchored into the ground with deep stakes in order to withstand the impact of many boars rushing in at the same time. The surrounding netting was pressed tightly against the ground so that no gaps remained. After the entire structure was completed, bait was placed deep inside to draw the groups fully into the controlled area. During the following nights, the entire area around the traps was continuously monitored by cameras. The first animals approached very slowly, repeatedly stopping to observe before moving closer to the bait area. They circled around the edge of the trap briefly, before gradually stepping inside. Once they detected no danger, the animals behind them quickly followed in small groups. The number inside steadily increased after each movement wave. Before long, several boars began pushing and competing for food in the center area, causing their level of caution to decrease noticeably over time. As soon as most of the group had gathered inside, the trap system was activated immediately. The steel gate slammed shut extremely quickly, blocking every escape route before the boars could react. Within seconds, the entire area turned chaotic as the trapped animals rushed in different directions, searching for a way out. Some slammed hard into the netting, but were unable to break through the structure that had already been firmly secured. Choosing the right moment allowed most of the group to be contained in a single operation. After the control process was completed, the boars were kept stable inside the system before being transported away from the area. As the number of boars decreased, many agricultural areas gradually became stable again, and the level of destruction also slowly declined over time.